Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're doing IGCSE Add Math 2024 topical questions for permutations and combinations. So let's get started. Okay, so first question, find the number of different ways the 9 letters of the word polymaths can be arranged when O and A are not next to each other. What I did for this question is that I found a number of ways you can arrange the number polymaths, and then I subtracted the number of ways that O and A are actually next to each other to find the number of ways that is not next to each other. So to find the total number of ways to arrange the word, it's just 9 factorial because there's 9 letters in total, and since the order matters, it will be 9p9 or 9 factorial. And the second step is I calculated the number of ways to arrange OA so that they are actually next to each other. So it will be 2p2 because once again the order matters, and you get just 2. And then the next step is to find the number of ways that OA is next to each other in like the whole picture, the whole letter. So to do this, you treat OA as like one block or like one space. So you have 7 other letters, right, for if you minus OA. So I'll take the 7 letters plus OA as one block, which will be 8 spaces in total. So to arrange the 8 spaces, it will be 8 factorial or 8p8 because there's 8 spaces. And then I also have to include my arrangement of the arranging OA, which will be 2p2. So I multiplied these two to get this. And like what I said just now, I took the total number of ways to arrange and I subtracted the number of ways in which O and A are next to each other, so that I will get the number of ways that O and A are not next to each other. So yeah, that's the final answer. Part B, the letters maths are together in this order. So it's actually quite similar to the first part. You treat maths as one value, and now you will only have 5 spaces in total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what you can do is just do 5p5 or 5 factorial, because once again the order matters, and you don't actually need to account for the order of maths this time because it's a fixed space. So it will just be 1p1, which will give you 1. So yeah, 120 is the final answer. Okay, next question. There are 3 women, 2 men, and 4 children in the choir. The choir stands in a single straight line. Find the number of possible arrangements if the first person and the last person are both women. Okay, so one thing to note for this question is that there's 9 people in total. And then for this part, the first and the last person are both women. So what I did here is that I drew a visual representation of what it would look like. So it starts with a woman and it ends with a woman. And there will be 7 people in the middle, which can be like woman, man, or children. It's fine, it doesn't matter. So to calculate this, it will be permutation because the order matters. And for the first position, which is the woman, there will be 3 women possible to choose from, and it's 3p1 because there's only 1 space. And then if you look at the last woman first, it will be 2 women to choose from and 1 space, 2p1. The reason why it's 2 women is that there's already 1 woman chosen at first, so there's only 2 left. Okay, so there's 7 people left remaining to choose to fit all these 7 spaces. So there's 7p7 ways to arrange all these people, or you can just write 7 factorial. And the answer will be 30240. Okay, part 2. Find the number of possible arrangements if all the children stand next to each other. So, what you can do for this question is you treat 4 of the children as one block. And you can arrange the block. The arrangement of the block will be like 4 factorial. But there's 5 other places here. There's 5 people. And then you treat these 4 children as one block. So you're actually arranging like these 6 blocks. That's why it's 6 factorial. So the answer would be 17280. Part B. 4 of the choir are selected to sing in a group. Find the number of different selections if no man is chosen. Okay, so the maximum number of people is 4. And the condition for this question is that if no man is chosen. So you have 4 spaces, and it can be any 3 women or any 4 children. So you have 7 people in total. And okay, since the order doesn't matter, it will be combination, so it will be 7C, and there's only 4 spaces, so 7C4, which will give you 55. Part B. Find the number of different selections if at least 2 women are chosen. So you want at least 2, so it can be 2 or more than 2. But it cannot be 4 because there's only 3 women. So 2 women, 3 women. And for this, it will be 2 other people, and this one is 1 other person. So since there's 3 women to choose from, it'd be 3C2. And for the other 2 spaces, it can be 2 men or 4 children, which will give you total number of 6 people to fit in those 2 spaces. So it will be 45. So basically, these 2 spaces can only be 2 men, the 2 men or the 4 children. Okay, same thing here. There's 3 women to be in those 3 places, and there's 6 possible number of people for that 1 space. So it's 6. And you add these up to get 51. So yeah, that's the answer. Okay, so part A of this question. A 6-digit number is to be formed using the digits. The 6-digit number cannot start with 0. Each digit can be used at most once in any 6-digit number. Find how many of these 6-digit numbers are divisible by 5. Okay, so important things to note for this question is that there's 10 numbers in total, and you're finding a 6-digit number. And the condition is that the 6-digit number must be divisible by 5. Okay, so for it to be divisible by 5, it must end with 0 or 5. So you can start with considering that the digit can start with 5, because let me visualize it for you. So the last number can be 5 or 0 for it to be divisible by 5. But the thing is, even though the first number cannot start with 0, it can start with 5. But the question states that each digit can be used at most once. So if it starts with 5, it cannot end with 5. So what I did here is that when it starts with 5, the first number, it will be 1P1, because the order matters. So it will be permutation, and there's only one chance of getting 5. So if it starts with 1, it will be 1p1. And then for the last number, it cannot be 5. So the only way for it to be divisible by 5 is if it ends with 0. So it will be 1p1. And then since you already used up 2 numbers, there will be 8 numbers left. So it's 8p4. Hold up, I missed a line here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 6 numbers. Yeah, so it will be 8p4. And then the next condition is that it doesn't start with 5 or 0. So let's say the first number can be any number that is not 5 or not 0. So it will be 8p1 because there's only 8 other numbers that's not 5 or not 0. And then the last place can be 5 or 0. So it will be 2p1. And there's 4 spaces left and 8 other numbers to choose from, since you already chose 2 numbers. So it will be 8p4. So once you calculated all of these, you just add up 1680 and 26880. And this will be your final answer. Okay, part B. The number of combinations of n plus 1 objects taken 13 at a time is equal to 16 times the number of combinations of n objects taken 12 at a time. Find the value of n. Okay, so this question looks a bit complicated, but I'll just write it in simple terms. So n plus 1 objects taken 13 at a time, and its combination, so it's C, is 16 times the number of combination of n objects taken 12 at a time. So this is how it looks like in the notation form. Okay, so what I did here is I used this equation to expand what I got here. So it will be all of this. And then I just like simplify them. And then for this line, I just cross multiply. So this part is here and this part is here. Okay, so what I did here is for this step, it's a bit more like you don't actually have to write this step. You can kind of just simplify it in your head, but I wrote this so that you guys can see. So basically for n plus 1 factorial, this part, you can expand it into this. And the ... is just showing that there's actually more things at the back, but I'm not going to write everything obviously because it's a lot of numbers. So I did the same for this because 12 factorial and then it's like this. And there's like more numbers at the back. So for each of them, I just like wrote all these. And then what you can do after this step is you can simplify it. And you can actually cross out some of the stuff. So for example, let's see. This one you can cross out with this. So you only have 13 left here. And then this one you can cross out with this. And you can actually cross out this and this because n factorial is n minus 1, n minus 2, blah blah blah. So yeah, you can cross that out. So what you're left with is n plus 1, 16, and 13. So that's why my next line is this. And eventually you'll just get n equals 207. So yeah, that's the answer. Okay, next question. A team of 8 people is to be formed from 6 teachers, 5 doctors, and 4 police officers. Part A. Find the number of teams that can be formed. So one thing to take note of from this question is that there's 15 people in total and the team can only have 8 people. So to find the number of teams that can be formed, you can just do 15 people, choose 8, since there's a maximum number of 8 people. And since the order doesn't matter, it's just combination and it won't be permutation. So the answer for this will be 6, 4, 3, 5. Part B, find the number of teams that can be formed without any teachers. So the condition is that there can't be any teachers. And if you look into the question, without any teachers, there will only be 5 doctors and 4 police officers. So the total number of people will be 9. And once again, this combination and 9C8, since there's a maximum number of 8, which will give you 9. Okay, part C. Find the number of teams that can be formed with the same number of doctors as teachers. Okay, so you want the same number of doctors and teachers. So I listed down all the different possibilities for the combinations. So you can have 1 teacher and 1 doctor, and it will give you 6 police officers. But if you look at the question, there's only 4 police officers, so this wouldn't be possible. So the next line, you can have 2 teachers and 2 doctors. It will give you 4 police officers, and in total you can have 8, and yeah, it's possible. And then the next will be 3 teachers, 3 doctors, and 2 police officers. This is also possible. And then if you go into the next line, it's 4 teachers, 4 doctors, 0 police officers. And it's still okay, but what if you want to go into 5 teachers and 5 doctors? First of all, it's not possible because you want a maximum number of 8 people, and this gives you 10. Now you can calculate the possibility for each of them. So we start with the second line because this is possible. You have 6 teachers, so 6C2, and then 5C2 times 4C4. Okay, now you just repeat the same thing for each line. Okay, so you have the possibility for each one of them. Now you can just add all of them up to give you 1, 4, 2, 5. That's the final answer. Okay, so last question. A 5-digit number is to be formed using 5 different numbers selected from 1 to 9. No digit may be used more than once in any 5-digit number. So one thing to note for this question is that there's 9 numbers in total, and there's a cap of 5-digit because they only want like a 5-digit number. So part 1, find how many 5-digit numbers can be formed. Okay, so since we're forming digits, and it will be permutation. And since we have 9 number in total, it'll be 9p5, which will give you 15120. And then part 2, find how many of these 5-digit numbers are greater than 50,000 and even. So greater than 50,000 and then even. So we have 2 conditions. Condition 1, condition 2. Okay, so to do this question, you can kind of visualize it. I will draw like 5 underlines to show that it's a 5-digit number. And then, so it has to be greater than 50,000. So the first number can be 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. And to be even, it has to end with an even number. So it'll be 2, 4, 6, 8. And there's no 0, so it's fine. And if you look at this, some of the numbers will repeat. 6 and 8, for example. So for the numbers that will repeat, you circle them first, and now we can calculate. So we consider the numbers that don't repeat first. So for the first case, it will be 5, 7, and 9 only. So we do 3p1. And then we can look at the last place, which will be 4 numbers. Because you can have 5 something 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 2, or 5 something 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 6, and the same thing for 4 and 8. So you will go 4P1. And now, let's say we already chose 2 numbers out of the 9. We'll have 7 numbers left to be chosen for the remaining 3 places in between. So it'll be 7P3. And this will give you 2520. Okay, now we look at the numbers that do repeat. So let's start with 6. For 6, it will just be 1P1 for the first place, because it has to start with 6. And then for the last place of the number, we can think that it's 2, 4, or 8. It won't be 6 because the number should not repeat as stated in the question. No digits may be used more than once. So for the last place, it will be 3P1. And then for the remaining 3 places, we already used up 2 numbers, so it will be the same, 7P3. And it will give you 630. Okay, so for the next number that repeats, it starts with 8. And it's actually the same as the thing that starts with 6. So basically, for first place, it will be only 8, so it's only 1P1. And for the last place, it can only be 3 numbers, which is 2, 4, 6. It cannot be 8 because the number cannot repeat. So 3P1, and then the remaining will be 7P3 once again. So it's actually the same thing. So to calculate the total, you just add everything up, and it'll give you 3780. Okay, part B. A team of 9 people is to be chosen from 6 doctors, 4 dentists, and 2 nurses. Find how many possible teams include at least 2 doctors, at least 2 dentists, and at least 2 nurses. Okay, so it has to be 9 people in the team, and actually we can draw a diagram, well, a table. Okay, you can kind of work this out like just like that, you know. So the condition is that it has to have at least 2 doctors, at least 2 dentists, at least 2 nurses. So it can be more. So let's say we start with 2 nurses. So there's always going to be 2 nurses because that's the maximum number of nurses. And then let's say you start with just 2 doctors. You will need, it's actually not possible because you will need 5 dentists and you only have 4 dentists, so you can't actually start with 2 doctors. So you can start with 3 doctors. To have 3 doctors, you can have 4 dentists, and it will equal to 9 people in the team. So yeah, this is possible. And then you can have 4 doctors, which will give you 3 dentists with 2 nurses. Remember that the number of nurses is always the same. And then you can have 5 doctors and then 2 dentists. And let's say you go up to 6 doctors and this. You will only have 1 dentist, which is not possible because you need at least 2 dentists, like the question said, so it is not possible. Okay, so this is the number of different ways that the team can be. So we can now calculate each of the different ways. So for the first one, let's calculate this row first. Okay, so for this row, you will have 6 doctors, choose 3. Because the order doesn't matter, but yeah. But you are choosing like 3 doctors from the 6 doctors. So it'll be 6C3, and then 4C4, and 2C2. Okay, next line is 6C4, 4C3, 2C2. It's honestly the same, so you can just like calculate it. And then you add 20, 60, and 36, which will give you 116. And that's the final answer.